Hi, guys. Welcome to the Marketing Rizz Podcast. I am your host, Crispino, and for today's episode, we have with us Dr. Deepak Bhootra. Deepak comes with 30 plus years of experience helping B2B sales professionals and entrepreneurs close larger deals faster, win more, and build career longevity. So, in this episode, we are going to talk about selling smart and how B2B leaders can win without burning out. So, welcome to the show, Deepak. It is great to have you here with us.
My pleasure, Crispino, and thanks for such a wonderful introduction. For a second, I thought I'm on the wrong show. You must be talking about some other amazing guy. But thanks, very generous of you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for joining us so early on a Saturday morning. Really appreciate the commitment and your dedication towards the hustle. So love that.
It's my pleasure. Any opportunity to talk, as my mom would say,
Yeah,
never give Deepak an opportunity to talk. He will take the mic, talk, and then he'll sell the mic and walk away with the money also.
that's a true sales guy, Deepak. In and out.
And then, or
So how
sell
did
it
you
back
get
to
into
you again.
sales?
How did I get into
Send
sales?
it back to you again. Yeah.
Crispino,
Yeah. How
to
did you
be
get into
honest with you,
sales?
how did I get into sales?
Yeah.
Complete fluke, complete fluke. Think about it, right? Coming from an
Okay.
Indian background, which of our parents ever looked down into the cradle and
Yeah.
says, "Oh, what a beautiful boy.
Huh.
He's going to grow up to be a salesperson." They always talk about becoming a doctor or something. So my entire life, I've always been, the typical stuff. If you're not either you run the family business or you become a chartered
Yeah.
accountant or you become a doctor or
Yes.
then
Or an
become an engineer. That is the
engineer.
curve that they
Yeah.
applied to me. I could do
Exactly.
nothing
Yeah.
of those. For me, one thing that happened was that, Christian, I actually realized that I like talking to people. I also like talking structured stuff. And I got into sales because, funny enough, is that I was actually in pre-sales and business development, but more of a back office role very early in my
Yeah.
career. I got in as a management trainee, and then what happened was that I happened to bump into and drop my entire drink onto the shoes of one of the MDs of the largest consulting firms in South Africa, of all places, right? He looked at me and I could see here comes
Yeah.
something very rude. And I said to him, "I'm not buying a new pair of shoes, but I'm happy to go get some tissues and help you clean this mess up." And he said, "Well, okay, let's start there." Then he said to me, "What's the rush, young man? What are you up to?" And I told him that I was just hungry as usual. So trying to run through,
Yeah.
get some food. And he said to me, "What do you do?" I explained that I am in this. And he said to me, what's the game plan? I said, "Look, the game plan is pretty easy. I actually applied in your organization to get into a business development role, but I got a lovely letter from you guys telling me I'm not worthy of it." He said to me, "What do you do? Tell me more." Then he said to me, "Let's set up an interview." I interviewed with him and he actually brought me on board to actually become a consultant working with customers in the petrochemical side of things to convince them that why his solution was the best in the market. He never called it sales, Crispino. Believe it or not, he never called it sales. He called it consultative approach, which ended up being
Okay.
consultative selling. So I thought that was one of the, if he had said to me that I'm asking you to become a salesperson, I might have said no. And I'm not saying that he's that smart, he figured it out. So my entry into sales was because someone told me, "You have all these academic chops, you got all this experience, you've been doing very
Hmm.
well. Why don't you come and help me market or sell?" He didn't use the word sell, market my product and be a consultant for me. It was a
Hmm.
selling job. We were doing pricing, RFPs, cold calls, and
Hmm.
all that stuff. But that was my introduction to sales, and I enjoyed it for the simple reason that, Crispino, it demands something very unique of you. Sales is unforgiving, but it's also very satisfying. And what was even more thrilling for me was the reality that it's not about winning the deal, it's about the chase. Because I keep winning a deal, I think I'm ecstatic, but then 2 days later, I'm like, now what? So it's one of those things. So if you are
Yeah.
high energy, like to solve problems, and if you can serve
Yeah.
the needs of your customer very well, then sales is a great place to start your career.
That's amazing. Deepak, I think you have a better story than Michael Ross from Suits. Have you seen that episode?
This so look, I
It's
have a
nothing
better
short of
story
a
as well.
film.
It's
Yes, tell me, tell me.
that's my biggest challenge. This is my wife's favorite joke about me, Crispin, and this will make you laugh, and your audience will love this as well. Is that she says to me,
Yeah.
thank God, he did not give you looks and hair, Deepak, and he left you about 20 pounds overweight. Because if he had not done those three things, you would have driven the world nuts by telling them you're Shah Rukh Khan, India's number one top Bollywood star. Because everyone keeps telling me, "You're just so full of so much stuff. My God, what would have happened if you had Shah Rukh's looks and his hair and you could
Yeah.
dance? Then what?" Well, I said, "Well, I can dance. This is no Deepak. Trust us, you can't dance."
Yes. But hey, you are your own personality, Deepak. And that's amazing. I love your vibe.
Crispino,
Even before.
ask your own mom and ask my mom. Who's the cutest child on the planet? HB. Even today, my
Uh,
mom will touch me and say, "Yes, but please shave, Deepak. I don't like this." So even now, at age 55, I'm being told by my mom, "Please shave." Okay. I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah.
yes, ma."
That's fair enough. Mothers, even my
Back
mom
to you.
always is like, you have a cute face. You don't need the beard. But I mean, you got to live with the time, and it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad on you either. You can rock it.
I think the issue is not about looking bad. It's about it's. I never saw it before. Why now? And I'm like, everyone goes through phases, ma. She says, yeah, there's better
Exactly.
phases. And come with me on a pilgrimage. Let's go to the holy shrines. And I'm like, no,
Let's
no,
go
I'm
on to
not
that
that.
phase.
I'm not there yet. Not that phase yet. No. Over to you, Crispino.
Got
Back
it.
to you, sir.
Got it. So Deepak, what are you currently doing? Like work-wise, I see that you have founded Jabulani Consulting, and you're doing a bunch of other things. You're helping sales leaders. So a bit about you to introduce yourself.
So my story is pretty simple, sir. Born and raised in north of India, and I say that for a very particular reason. I'm extremely fond of the place. My first fiction book is actually based upon a 300-year-old love story in the city that I grew up in, Jodhpur. I, thanks to my dad, traveled the world. So, Crispino, if you ask me, Deepak, what's home for you? I'll tell you, home is Jodhpur forever. If I ever die anywhere on the planet, I've told the family, please take my ashes back to Jodhpur. Don't even go to the holy rivers. Just go find any gutter and just drop it in there. I'm okay with that also. Now, but jokes aside, I traveled the world. I've worked in South Africa. I've lived in Libya. I've worked in Singapore. So I consider myself a global citizen. And what happened to me was that after 30 years of corporate servitude, and after during COVID, I got COVID twice. I lost family members during COVID. And you know what, Crispin, you get this feeling of what is life about? Here are people that were far healthier than I am. These so basically my as an example, my sister became a widow at that point, right? And for me, it was a stunning reversal of fortune, right? A super
Hmm.
smart guy. My kids adored him, and here we are trying to figure out what happened, all because of something called COVID, right? But one thing happened. It shook me up, and I realized that let's leave the corporate world and do what I think I should do. Will I lose a lot of money? Yes, that's true. Becoming an entrepreneur is never easy, right, Crispino? People talk about, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur so I can get away from all the nonsense. Well, I tell you what, 90% of entrepreneurs go back to business again very soon, very quick, because they run out of money. So you need to plan for all that type of stuff. So for me, I exited and I picked up a Sandler franchise. Sandler is one of the world's top sales training companies, sales development companies. Why? Because I didn't feel like I wanted to create my own, uh, uh, what do you call it, IP. There's no point in that. The world is full of too many people who are in sales, have one fantastic year, and then take the briefcase and on the back of it, then they write, I'm now a consultant, I'm now a sales coach, I'm now a sales trainer. And there's an entire industry created by that. So I get that and I respect that. But to be honest with you, there's a limit to how much the market can sustain or absorb in a scenario like that. So that's the only point I wanted to make to you. So I am in the sales coaching game. I then started coaching some strategic advisory work to startups. And what was interesting in that conversation for me, Crispino, was that I ended up starting my own startup. Ultimately,
Hmm.
if you're going to hang around with thieves, then all you'll do is thieving. So that's what happened. As I was hanging out with some founders who were always on fire, they kept asking me a simple question with so much energy, so much ideation. You're helping us with our
Yeah.
product roadmaps. Don't you have an idea? And I says, yeah, I do. What is it? My idea was that I'd like to create a career progression infrastructure platform with AI infused into it and fill a gap that LinkedIn and the other guys don't complete, which is at age 21, when you get up and you sit down at your desk and you call your mom and told her, Ma, I just got into IBM, or Mom, I got into HP. She's excited. But then at age 21, you sit there wondering, how the hell, how am I going to go to the next 30 years of career progression without the right support? And at age 21, a lot of us don't have the money to go pay executive coaches. So what happens? And I felt there was a gap in the market for that. And that's what I'm trying to build out. It's again, same thing. How do I uplift people? How do I send this elevator back down to the ground floor to bring people up to join me at the top? That's what is driving me at this point, Crispino.
That's amazing, Deepak. That's a very good cause as well. And I remember how lost I was at the early phase of my career. So definitely this is something that could really help the youngsters out, and not just help them, but also it's a good thing that you're doing, like a noble cause in a way, Because
It's really interesting you say that, because Crispino, when I
yeah,
started this journey in July, I was
yeah.
pitching this as a do good. Then I started looking at the numbers and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? There is a massive market for this. And the reality also is that if you think about the 21-year-old, right? If a 21-year-old can sharpen his focus on his career and know how to manage upwards, how to manage time,
Hmm.
how to prioritize, how to get
Hmm.
over a no, how to understand
Hmm.
rejection, how to work
Yeah.
to show that and market your promotion capabilities, because a lot of us don't do that
Hmm.
very well, right? We trust our
Hmm.
bosses. And if there's one thing I can tell you in a post-COVID world is please don't trust your bosses. They're not
Yeah.
remunerated anymore as to how many promotions did you give this year. They're remunerated on
Yeah.
how many promotions did you deny this year. Let's be
Denies.
realistic
Yeah.
about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's really nice because Deepak, I do that as well. Like I coach a lot of graduates and mentor them in marketing and in entrepreneurship, part of a lot of startup groups. So I meet a lot of kids like this and I help them out. So I know the challenges that they have, the kind of,
Absolutely.
yeah, the thought process that they have with rejection, with the competition. There's so much of competition in India. Every second person and their mother is a MBA graduate
You're
now.
right. Here's the funny part. Someone asked me once, Deepak, you seem to come from a very highly educated family. And I said, this is really interesting. If education is defined as degrees, then every
Mm,
cousin of mine has at least two. And that's the reality. You're right. In India,
yeah.
today, I would say that you'd be hard pressed to find someone telling you that they don't have a bachelor's at least. Whereas in the
Yeah,
US, it's
yeah,
very common
absolutely.
for me to bump into a lot of people that don't have a bachelor's.
Yes.
Fine, because the trades pay
Yes.
very well, therefore they're okay. But for us, it's one
Exactly.
of those things. It's like a stigma. It's like a minimum
Yeah.
bar. Everyone's just going to push against it hard.
So, what's your experience in sales training with corporates? I've seen a lot of your content, your LinkedIn also, the banner image talks about it. So, how are
Mhm.
you involved with SMEs or startups or businesses and helping them in sales?
Here's one of the challenges that I'm facing, Crispino, which is I started the journey, and you need to understand that, and I think you understand already. I think I'll just call it out very clearly. Is that Crispino, when you are coaching, what do you offer? You not It's just not your knowledge. The reality is that you're offering hours. And at the end of the day, I've only got 6 hours of coaching that I can possibly fit in. Because for every hour of coaching, I need 1 hour to prepare and to understand and absorb those notes also.
Absolutely.
So when you've capped your time availability, then the other way to make more money is to then jack up your rate. And I only started this in September 2024. And one thing you can't do is you can't jack up your rate so quickly, but people will then, because I don't know what is that point at which the curve is going to start dropping. I push the rate higher, then will people fall off? So when I started this journey, getting into corporates was very extremely difficult for me, because when I was a corporate citizen and I picked up a phone and I called someone, they would give me time not because Deepak was calling, but because HP was calling. But as an entrepreneur, getting into corporates can be very difficult. So for me right now, 70% of my revenue is coming from, I would say, coaching on a one-on-one setup. 30-20% is coming from corporates. I do have a lot of strategic equity. I've got 6 companies that I consult to where I have strategic equity, which means that I get no money today, but one day, wink, wink, one day, and leave it at that. We shall see.
So, in your coaching, one on one coaching, which is like 70% of your revenue or your time goes over there, what are the kind of challenges do these guys come up to you with?
Simple challenges, Deepak. I had a conversation with my boss, and he says, you're at 93% of quota. I What's going on? I need to put you on a performance improvement plan, PIP? And he said to me, is he nuts? Why would he say something like that? And I said, that's a very good point. Why? Let's think about it. So two things could be happening there. He could be sending a message to you that he's under pressure, and because he's under pressure, he's going to just squeeze wherever he can. Or there's something you've said or done that he wants you out, so he's setting you up by putting on to PIP. But he can't do that, not at 7% below. Why is he doing what he's doing? But now let's park that aside. Question is, how do you want to react to it? My recommendation to him was then, let's go think about the process. He ultimately decided, which I disagree with, was to look for a role outside because he had taken it very personally. So my job as a coach is not just necessarily to act on technique, right? I, Deepak, would like to know the 5 ways to break a price objection. That's the easy part. But if you think about it, that's the easy part. The difficult part is actually when you have these type of scenarios and these type of situations, sitting with a customer, and the customer mentions price is an issue, and you're panicking. How do you subside that panic? You need to visualize it before you go into a meeting. Expect him to have an observation that the price is high. In fact, I also strategize around what if you were to say this price sounds low compared to competition. Why? How would you answer that, Crispino? You think it's an easy question, but think about it. It's not, because he's giving you a hint there. He's measuring you against your competition. So the question would be, is it just pure, or did the competition miss something that they could have put but they didn't put? We don't know, right? So your response has to articulate all of that thing through that. So that means a lot of prep work has to happen. So I help salespeople with prep work as well. Then they get stuck on deals, right? As an example, Deepak, I've been stuck with this deal. It's a $30 million deal, but this guy doesn't give me time of day and he's not giving me clarifications on it. RFP was submitted and now they tell me that they most likely will review it in 2 months from now. How do we break through this logjam? Simple conversations like that. So it's a range of behavior, attitude, technique across the spectrum, right? And people think that sales trainers, sales coaches focus only on technique. Yes, we do, because at the end of the day you need a sales methodology or anything in life, right? But at the end of the day, in the same way that you can learn biology by observing it or reading it, observation makes you profounder, but having read it makes you able to adapt what you see faster. So it's one of those things. So technique is fine, but at some point, and particularly when you are senior enough, technique doesn't matter that much, but mindset, attitude, even simple things like
Yeah.
I have to prepare for an interview and I'm thinking about doing a case study, or I want to
Yeah.
do a 30, 60, 90-day roadmap of how I would change their sales environment by being a sales leader. I help people with those type of conversations also.
So Deepak, I feel I was in sales as well for 5 years. I had a team as well. I started off as a sales executive, then grew up to a manager, handled a team of about 5, 6 people. So, and I think that everybody cannot do sales like blatantly. That's my personal thing that I feel everybody is sales. You need to be cut out of a different cloth to be into sales and to, face rejections, to have that positive mindset. So I would like to ask you, what are some of the qualities you feel, or what kind of a mindset does a person need to have if they want to dominate sales?
Hope and
Very
expecting
important.
that you do the same thing but get
Yeah.
different result is absolutely not a sales strategy. Salespeople cannot work on, I hope I do a good job. I hope I do a great presentation. Two, mental resilience requires you to recover fast. No one says that going down is bad. The problem with most people who leave sales is that they focus more on the receiving end of the issue. They never ask themselves, what do I need to do to cope with it? Because coping is based on overwhelm, and most of us collapse under the burden of a no. And when you get sustained back to back no from a customer, no, 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 look, they tell you out of 10 calls, three will be successful. And out of three, one might give you a demo or a meeting. And then of those five, maybe one or two will give you a business. When you do the maths, you got to understand one thing about how many of us are willing to speak to 500 people to get 497 no's and then get three sales. Because what is going on here? We are human beings, right? We cannot ask anyone who tells me that, but Deepak, that doesn't, why? I can walk into a bar and I can find 20 girls. I says, yeah, but are you going to find someone to marry? Then the fun starts, right? The bar is not the place to make a decision on getting married. It's a great place to, it's the same thing in sales. You're going to get a lot of exciting stuff. You're going to get a list that someone's going to say, call these people, you find a customer. That finding process is very, very painful. Two, these ratios I gave you, I know a guy that actually got 19 no's in a row. And all
Hmm.
his colleagues were only getting like three no's and then 1 year. So they were winning 25%. He was winning zero out of 19 deals. But then suddenly deal 20, 21, 22, all three went for him and the ratio caught up.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
means that you need time. Where it could take 6 months, it takes 1 year, it could take 2 years. I don't know, right? The problem is
Hmm.
that in sales, consistent pressure. Look, stress is good for the body, believe it or not, up to a certain point. When you
Hmm.
are consistently under stress, even at a low point, you are going to feel uneasy. And now imagine in
Yeah.
sales, you're consistently above the line of the average person. You take a no,
Hmm.
and on top of it, your management considers you to be just there for abuse because they pay you a lot, right? Salespeople make 20 to 25% more than what the same equivalent person would make in a non-sales job. Why? Because they own you. And that mindset is a 80s mindset. And I'm saying this to you because, Crispin, I'll tell you one thing. If I look back and I look at how coaching is done today, same approach, boss. Carrot and
Yeah.
stick. Boss, carrot and stick was 80s language. And by the way, even in the 80s and 90s, the carrot and the stick, Crispino, were used exactly the same way. Ouch. Got it? Also went into a painful situation because they were misusing the alignment, that was. If you do this, you get rewarded. But if you don't do this, you're going to get another reward. The reward is so difficult to get that you would rather wish that they just hurt you with it. It's just one of those things. Now, how many can survive? And I'll give you a statistic, Crispino. 35% of all people in sales will leave sales by age 35. Why? Because they didn't get the right support up front. They also did not find the right people to hang out with. As a salesperson, you need to hang out with like minded people. And at the end of the day, let's be honest here. I it would be wrong on my part to say to you that's all in the mind. It's not. I left sales myself, right? At age 33, I got burnt out. At age 35, I exited sales permanently. But I went to sales operations. So instead of dealing with customers, I now work with salespeople to optimize and help them in their performance. So I did my Lean Six Sigma qualification. I'm a process guru. I'm a CRM CPQ super admin. I just changed my track, but I stayed in sales. And what made me very powerful in the role I did was the fact that I was an ex-salesperson, because only an ex-salesperson
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
stand in those shoes and empathize. So I don't sympathize,
Hmm.
I empathize. My
Hmm.
job is, I would put it to this way, is to reduce the coefficient of drive for any sales process.
Hmm.
How do I make this smooth? Think of me, this in that ice hockey, you see those guys with the weird mop or something in the front,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
ice, giving this puck just that ability to go a few more inches. That's
Yeah.
my job. My job is to give you a glide path that allows you to
Yeah.
reach your objectives. Simply put,
Love it. Love it.
and
Yeah.
and literally think of the puck as the deal, taking the
Hmm.
deal through the entire process so that it gets through fast and quickly. I don't get paid to hold deals up. I don't
Hmm.
understand why people say that. A lot of people tell me, obsessed people are fantastic. They're like, no Did you brush your teeth today? No, minus 2 marks. Did you gargle today? No, minus 2 marks. I'm like, what are you
Are
talking
you
about?
are you big on processes yourself, Deepak? SOPs,
In terms of,
processes,
yes, I'll tell you
sales
why.
for sales teams.
I'm so I am very big on process for one simple reason. Is that because one, processes actually help you make sense of things when things are not going well. That's when you rely back onto the process. Two, processes fail only because they can't scale, or because you have structured it in such a way that the process ends here, process A, process B starts here. And now this is all sticky tape and glue and human holding it together. To give you the best parallel, it's like you will do your emails on instantly on this screen. Then when it's done, export in a CSV file, move to another software, upload it there, and then you'll do a cleansing of the email on a tool called Prospeo or something like that, right? Then you're like
It's not
swiveling,
connected.
it's not
Yeah.
connected. And when you sit back and you look at your entire day, you'll actually realize on average, salespeople, and by the way, the stuff I'm telling you has been going on for the last 50 years. 50 years ago, they used to tell me salespeople spend 30% of the time on non-value add stuff. After 50 years, today still they say the same number. What happened? What happened? Something happened, right? I think productivity went through the roof. Yes, I get it. But if you're
Hmm.
still arguing that 30% of the time is spent on activities that don't matter, then it's stunning. Now, here's another truth I'll give you, Crispino. This will make you laugh. Crispino, what used to take earlier 5 minutes to do, like writing an email to a customer, now takes 20 minutes to do. Do you know why? Let me go to Chat
Too
GPT first.
too much of
AI. All you got too many options. All you're doing is now people will go and tell me, I have sales. I actually did work with 8 rockstar salespeople, right? They're on average spending $400 a month on running what I call second degree or shadow IT. Officially, company has also given them all the chat GPTs of the world and this
yeah.
tool and that fancy and their deal scoring and all that. But they run their own infrastructure on the side. Why? Because my infrastructure is optimized to my needs. And to be honest with you, here's the reality. How many people want to share their prompts with other people? When salespeople stand up and say that I coach my team members, well, you coach them because most likely there's a quota number that's allowed to you or a shadow number that you get benefit of. But in the real world, people are not typically going to share the secrets, right? And nor will salespeople admit that this is how much they use and rely on AI. I'm actually
Hmm.
watching, and this is something, Crispin, I want to call out to you. And I think some of your viewers may not agree with me on this one, but there is a general collapse of intelligence happening in sales overall, because the very first point of call is going to an AI, arguing with the AI, getting an email, then sitting on it, and then arguing with yourself, and then generating that email. So what could have taken 5 minutes ends up taking 8 to 10 minutes. You think you've been productive because you've seen a different way to spin something. But here's another reality. When everyone is using ChatGPT, how do you differentiate yourself? So
Yeah.
someone told me, Deepak, that's nonsense. ChatGPT never gives the same answer. I'm like, okay, let me give you another perspective then. Crispino, today ChatGPT can help you with your resume, right? Today, you know what the biggest problem with salespeople, with HR, is that every resume is
Yeah.
shiny. How do you
Same. Yeah.
differentiate?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's when they decided that let's go do 15 minutes mandatory AI interview. Amazing, isn't it? Had to do that. So people tell me the AI interviews happened because AI came along. The need was always there because people were not sure whether the person that I'm going to interview was worth it or not. That's why they would then have a recruiter step into the middle to do their first interview, right? And
Yeah.
recruiters don't necessarily have the chops to do those interviews the right way, Crispino. But back to you, sir, because I think we've been at this for 25 minutes and I'm sure you're like, well, my questions. Keep
No,
going,
no,
keep going.
that's fine. I think it's flowing with the conversation and it does make sense. So I wanted to ask you, piggybacking on the topic of AI. So how is your use of AI? Have you used AI and what do you see? You already told me
I'm
that.
wall to wall AI, everything.
Okay.
I am
What
at
are
this
some of the
point.
tools that you use?
Some of the things that I've done is that I've actually, so as an example, let's say that you and I are I'm coaching you. I would have had 8 sessions, let's say, with you. 8 sessions is roughly 8 hours of, so I've got 8 hours of transcripts, 8 hours of video. I then also have a lot of work I do with you, resume building, interview prep, and so on. So I get to know you very well intimately. I have my
Yeah.
notes. I take all that information. I have built a very simple scenario. I do this. Fathom pumps out for me, drops it via webhook. I pick up the transcript. It is cataloged in a Google Drive. From the Google Drive, I then have ChatGPT and a couple of agents will then pick up piece by piece by piece and string me together and give me where you started from, where you are today, where are you going, what are the deltas in the changes, and what's the emotional subcontext that's changing in this conversation for the person that you're working with. We typically start off a conversation by saying that, Crispino, you have 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. But as you work with someone over 6 or 8 weeks, suddenly you know what happens, Crispino? You realize that he actually has 4 weaknesses and two of them are not on the list from the first time. But here's the fun part. Most other coaches would just carry on with the same discussion that they had on day one and carry on banging on the stuff that is not relevant If I ask you, Crispino, right now on this call in front of your audience, Crispino, tell me your top three strengths. You're going to say something. Then 2 weeks from now, I'll tell you, Crispino, think about it again and tell me, are those the real top three or do you think you would change your answer? 90% of the people change their answer. Because as I coach you, you actually realize, oh, you know what, boss? Shit, I just realized my issue is not time management. My issue is prioritization. I don't know what to prioritize. If you don't know what to prioritize, it reflects as time management issue. But it's not a time management issue. It's that an inability to delegate to people. I have 7 people reporting to me, but I refuse to delegate stuff because I can do it. Hold on. So you start off by saying that my people don't listen to me and they don't do their job, therefore they are bad. You end up realizing that you don't give the right instructions to them. So what happened to strengths, weakness, the whole analysis, the entire concept changes. With AI, I cannot remember if I have 7, 8 customers at any time, right? Crispino, think about it. But with AI, I have the ability just before a call to simply say, jog my memory, tell me where we were, right? Now, from a positive point of view, let me respond as follows with regards to AI. AI allows me to add, I would say, 3x more value. If I was adding value before for $100, for the same $100, I can add more value because AI allows me to enrich my insights. AI allows me to also look, I've written 6 books. Of those 6 books, I will sometimes forget where to write something into it. But if I tell I just had a conversation with Crispino, and Crispino mentioned to me about mental resilience. I would like to send a 1-page summary of on mental resilience for him based on the work I have done with the framework that I think is valid. Generate a customized playbook 1-pager for Crispino. Who do you think can generate that faster, me or an AI? There you go. There you go, Crispino. Now just imagine someone came to me, and that's why I'm telling people right now that one, get hands on with AI. This is a different era. Today you cannot tell me, "Nini, I don't do coding." Well, hold on. Even I don't do coding. You don't need to anymore. You don't need to anymore. That's the 4 years ago when I first got exposed to generative AI. Here's my response. I've always been a machine learning and type of guy, but not technical. I've always worked on pricing analytics and stuff like that. So I've been always very numerical in my thought process, and data will set you free. 4 years ago when I first saw it, I'm like, what is this? It's cute, but because it was silly. Then in 2 months, I suddenly realized that it was actually giving me decent answers. Still a lot, but it was getting tighter in terms of the essence of it and deeper. Quality was much better. Quality. And 6 months later, I was sitting one day working and I just turned to my son and said to him, good luck to you, software engineers. You're done. I said, you're done. And 6 months later, the whole thing started. Cursor, emergent, talk. I'm like, Replit came out. This came out. I'm like, I ultimately went and actually got a fellowship in AI with, I think it was Outskill Growth School, right? Okay. And I did that. And it was the most painful experience of my life, Crispino. But guess what? That experience actually gave me the courage to go do my own startup. Why? Because you now understand how everything hangs together. So anyone listening on the call, getting exposed to AI at a very hands-on element is important. And if I can do it at age 55, then you at age 25 listening in, what's your problem, man? And if you think that this is not something that's required, I can guarantee you, AI will not take your job, Crispino. Someone using AI will take your job. Happy now? Absolutely. That's it. Absolutely. Put this on a t-shirt and print it. Yes, you don't look one day older than 35. And it's amazing that you've used AI in all the right ways. Like your examples of how you used AI with the agents you built for the summary, you've helped it. Like, I mean, I'm going to use this podcast as an example for others how they should use AI. Because people still using it from in my circle who I know, or the startups that I mentor, they're using it to generate content or to write content and, very basic level stuff, which is not bad. Which is not bad. You're right. And this is very important, Crispino. I don't want people to misunderstand me. But here's, I think, the point you're making. And I keep telling this to people. Boss, you will never see me sitting on Sora making videos of me flying on a banana or riding a dolphin. What does that achieve? Yeah. At the same time, what I would rather do is explain to a customer that if you do this, and this is the transition expected, this is what happens to your earnings. I'd rather make a video that shows a career graph, actually shows someone activity A delivers incremental 10%. So I would just show to a chart growing. Then I would color the chart differently and simply state the light green shows what you would have earned without the intervention of AI. But with AI, you're going to end up with 37% more. So over your lifetime, if you were going to end up with, let's say, $1 million in your retirement fund, you could end up with 1.9 to $2 million because there's the compounding impact of the extra 37% also that kicks in. I am trying to figure out why people are spending time on that. I mean, remember that we had that whole scenario of action figures in boxes, right? GI, why? I never got into that. And now here's the fun part. I'm still on a lot of these groups and stuff. 80% of the people are still sharing nonsense videos. Guys, I was sitting and I created this scene from an Indian epic with the arrows flying in the air and I'm like, are you building an ad out of it? Show me that. No, and that's the problem with people. They're so busy showcasing what they can achieve. And let me put it to you in a very simple term that's so cruel that you'll cry. One day, my mother told me, my friend came and said to her, Auntie, I'm going to be a father. And she said to him, Congratulations. And he says, My parents are very proud. So my mom said to him, For what? Have you raised the child yet? Has the child done what it's supposed to do on this planet? She says, What you did, any animal can do. Sorry about that, right?
Love
And
it.
I
Yeah.
sat there thinking that, oh my God, my friend told me later, is your mom nuts? He said that to me. I'm never coming back to her
Lovely.
house again to be embarrassed like that. But why did she do that? I'll tell you why. Because she is exactly the same mindset I have. She knows when you are gloating about something that is inconsequential doesn't matter. Getting someone pregnant is not actually a mark of any remarkable. The fact is that she was not feeling well. We struggled during childbirth. This is how I supported her, and this is how the baby then came. And the baby had a problem. That's a better story. So people get caught up with this. So same thing with AI. AI helps you do stuff that you never experienced before. So you never had a child before. Now you've got a child coming, so you're excited. But the reality is that that's not the litmus test. It's just a step on the way to progress. And I think people end up saying that since I made my first 5-second video and it shows me morphing into a dragon, yes, it's good. Move on fast. So when I started this journey, where there were 300 people that I was working on in that class, right? Of those 300 people, everyone was very gung ho. I would say only 7 people actually came delivered on that startup idea to do something about it. But all 300 were screaming and shouting that we're on this course because we want to do it and do a startup. And that's what happens was this AI is shiny objects. You're going to get distracted. And if you're going to behave like a monkey, then a monkey will not differentiate between a piece of gold, piece of silver, or a glass. He cannot, and he will not. He doesn't know better. And that's what people are doing with AI. AI can be so powerful, so enriching. Focus on what you needed to do. And also, the reason for studying is because people ask me, Deepak, but we hear that you can't do much with AI because you can't deliver enterprise grade product. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But you can prototype faster. So right now, we have prototyped so much on my own startup that I would tell you we have shaved 3 months off the entire product because when even a logo, even a company logo, I kid you not, Crispino, I go to my designer, I say to him, this is what I have in my mind. Even before that, I go to ChatGPT and I say, ChatGPT, I'm thinking of a logo. I like these colors. I am looking for a gold palette with a very rich royal blue, but not navy, no purples. Tell me what would the Rise Up logo look like? I do want to make sure that the up is in a different color compared to the contrast, and I want the up to be glowing. It gave me 7 or 8 options. I took the one I liked and says, give me more variations on this in different colors and font. Did that. 45 minutes later, I took that 5 pieces and I sent it through to the guy. And he said to me, I can do that quickly. Next day morning, I had a logo. What used to take 5 days and maybe $200 is now down to literally $50 to $100 in 2 hours of solid work if you do it. Crispino, here is the truth. That's why Upwork and all the guys are smiling because now you have this gig economy where people just want $50 of a piece of work to be done and that's it. Sorry, back to you, sir.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you on that. And also, Deepak tells those people to not create those videos because it costs a lot of resources and RAMs are very expensive now. So, yes.
It's really interesting that initially when
Yeah.
I got introduced to this Crispino, I used to laugh at comments like the one you just made, right? But
Mm.
then it hit me. We actually don't understand the consequences of our own nonsense. We just don't. When I worked at HP, I read a research paper that blew my mind. Do you know how many people just discard their PC computers on the landfill? They just chuck it. It has got in it so much metal, so much extraction that you could do from it. It also has
Absolutely.
batteries, acids, this, and you're leaking all the stuff in the environment. We never think about those
Yes.
implications because guess what? It doesn't impact us. We don't know. And you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. I was stunned to realize how much energy is used up and consumed in the production of the stuff that we do. And then I started reading about this and I actually realized they have not sold that to us. Why? Because it defeats the purpose, right? And now
Exactly.
they're going to show us ads as you do your investigation and as you're going to get ads on the side. Isn't that amazing, boss?
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That
I
the
just wrote an
end of
article
the
on that today. Yeah.
bravo.
On
Do you have a
ChatGPT
newsletter,
ads.
Crispino?
The LinkedIn newsletter. Yes.
Then I'll subscribe to that. Just remind me. Just drop me
Yeah.
a link
Yeah.
afterwards. Okay.
I'll send you the link to the article as well. It's really nice. I feel it's going to be very interesting. It's going to revolutionize and change completely how ads were being done previously. I think it's going to be even
Absolutely.
bigger than
I am
Google
also
ads.
looking
Yeah.
and I'm always on the lookout for great content because as I build out Rise Up, I also want to
Hmm.
include into Rise Up because if my goal is to bring 21 to 30-year-olds. Some of them would love to know what marketing is and what marketing does. For me,
Yeah.
creating content like that would be very valuable. Links going out from my environment into yours and so on. I would love to have that conversation with you.
Can you tell our audience a bit about Rise Up?
Yeah, sure. Let's go high school. In high school, you've now got a taste that, okay, I seem to be good. Parents want me to do something. I also want to study. I want to get a job. So you end up spending a lot of money, a lot of effort. You have professors, teachers, instructors helping you structure everything in life. You get to college, you're paying a lot of money. You get 4 years of teachings and assistancy, and you're also doing what do you call it, examinations. Your syllabus is prescribed to you. Every book you need to read is given to you. People think that that is tough, right? But they don't realize that they're being spoon fed to death. Correct? Now, at age 21, you pick up the phone and you call your parents. Ma, it's my first day on the job. I'm so proud of myself. I got the X dollar package and I'm going to be a junior business analyst with blah, blah. Mom and dad are like, all achieved, done.
Trupti.
First job done. Right? Now comes the fun part. At age 21, you're sitting at your desk very euphoric. And then the first thing happens. There is no manual on how to work with your manager. There is no manual that explains to you that if a manager has 10 people or 100 people reporting to him, because that's a reality, at least in some of the back offices in India, hundreds of people report to one person. You're going to actually figure out a one-on-one with a person that's got 100 people reporting to them. People don't know how to market themselves. People don't know how to manage their time. People don't know when to say no. So now comes the fun part. You spend the first 10 years of your life building to get to this job and to sit in the job. And then within 1 year, you're disillusioned because guess what happened? Life hit you. Life is what happens when you plan for life. Get it? Life is totally. Now at age 21, you suddenly start looking around and you realize, where's all that support I had? Oh my gosh, I had that guy, I had that professor, I had that teaching assistant. Where are they all? No one is there. Go to the company and they tell you, call a 1-800 number and they'll help you out. I'd like to know about COVID coverage, call them. But there's more you want to know. It's just not about the coverage of insurance. You also want to know that if a colleague of mine is telling me that he's not feeling strong or he's using language that I don't understand, how do I those things are never taught properly. They need to experience. How do I work with a manager that is toxic, right? How do I choose between jobs? Think about it. I want to leave this job, but I don't know why. Or I want to go to another job, but I don't know why. You actually need someone to help you through that. And how many people can do that discussion with you? Not many. And two, it's very intimate, right? Why would you have a conversation like that with anyone? You just won't. So my goal with Rise Up is as follows. I'm creating a community first platform that allows you as a 21-year-old to, for a very small subscription fee, get access to a variation on how we typically do resumes, how we do interviews, AI infused technology, journaling, AI induced journaling as well. So we've created, as an example, I mean, you can't see that in the background right now, but I've got 6 books that I've written, Crispino, specifically for Rise Up. It's a LinkedIn book, this book, that book. And then for India market, I've actually taken the book and broken it into smaller 6 pieces. My biggest book is about 520 pages. It's called Rise Up, Your Career Reclaim. It's 30 chapters, which I'm converting. That is the backbone of. So we have IP. We have a diagnostic tool that we start with. The diagnostic tool you do when you join up with Rise Up, it allows you to actually understand how to use the Rise Up in an environment better. It actually allows you to also understand where are you weak. I sit in rooms where I know what they're discussing is bad for the company, but I don't open my mouth because I am not confident. Tell me, where will you go to your internal portal and look for? I like to be more confident in meetings. That's the reality. So what you want to do is that you would really like to go and listen and talk to people that are having the same issues you have in a safe environment with access to material, videos, verified information, and potentially cohort type setups, because cohort type setups are cheaper. If you try to go and find a one-on-one coach at age 21, you're going to bankrupt yourself. I'll be honest with you. And the problem is that that's the time when you really need a coach. People go to coaches when it's too late. You're going to go to a doctor with a broken hand. Okay, that's a bit, you already broken the hand, right? So the precaution needs to happen before that. And what is that precaution? That a doctor can't teach you. Someone else has to tell you how to walk, how to talk, how not to say things. Or when someone punches you, how to duck. Those are life skills. So I'm looking at career progression as a life skill going forward, not as a career skill or a job skill. No, don't make that mistake. And with AI, what you used to think as a career is not that career anymore. AI has changed the context.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking forward to reading your article, Crispino, because I have a suspicion that you're going to sense a vibe that's going on as to what's changing out there and how AI is going to get more pervasive and demand something very different from you. I want to factor that into this discussion.
And that I think what you're doing with Rise Up, Deepak, is lovely. And also because I've met a lot of kids who passed out their college era during the COVID time. So their
Yeah,
life
yeah.
skills are absolutely zero. I
They
hope
have,
they're not listening to
it's
this.
really,
But
my youngest son is one of those, right? And
yeah.
I tell
So
you what,
you know
he
firsthand what
was
it's
telling
like.
me, I don't. So he now goes to the office maybe twice a week only, just FYI.
Okay.
From
Yeah.
day one itself, you've got a disassociation. They
Yeah.
maintain that disassociation, and that's very, very,
Yeah.
very important. And look, my
Yeah.
doctor degree was in job satisfaction and organizational commitment of salespeople. And if
Yeah.
there's one thing I can tell you, Crispino, is that
Yeah.
the most pain comes from work friends. You think they're friends,
Yeah.
but they're actually not friends. And the way to
Yeah.
judge that is very simple. When you lose your job or when you leave a company, just watch and see how your friendship profile changes dramatically. If within 60
Yeah.
days,
Yeah. Yeah.
less than 5% of people that you knew from your old workplace are even acknowledging that you exist, then you know that you were making a mistake. You thought you were working with friends. You thought this is a great company and a great culture. It's like a family.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a family. What nonsense. I don't know who
I
sold that
learned
to
that the
us.
hard way myself as well.
Hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
COVID, COVID put a mirror to everyone's face. So the batch that came, that's why I call it a post-COVID era, is very different, Crispino. Those boys and girls want something different, and they actually have no pretense. They'll tell you to your face, okay, this is not worth it.
Crazy, Deepak. This was an amazing podcast. I loved this conversation with you. I think we went
My
all over the
pleasure.
place from AI to COVID to students. We covered
We
everything,
did.
and it
We
was
did.
a
We did.
great chat. Yes, thank you so much for coming on and taking time on your weekend. I wish you the best for Rise Up. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, anybody wants to work with you, what is the best way to connect with you?
Sir, as my wife says, I don't even know why people ask that question. Just tell them to go shout Deepak Bhootra on LinkedIn and I'll appear. So I spend
There
like
we
four or
go.
5 hours a day on LinkedIn. It's always open on at least one of my phones or one of my computer screens. So LinkedIn is a great
Yeah,
place to find me, Crispino. I am also on the internet. If you just type Deepak Bhootra, you're going to pick up the one and only. All the ugly faces at the top are mine, so you'll absolutely recognize me. Any shiny spot, that's me. Find it. That's me right there. Right. So
love it,
that's how
love
to
it.
get in
Cool.
touch with me, Crispino. But
Yeah,
thank you
I'll
very much
also
for having me. It was fun.
Yes, absolutely, Deepak. I'll also drop in the link to your profile and your website in the chat. Sorry, in the description of the videos, so anybody can just connect with you right there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
Take care.